All right, y'all. Hey, how y'all doing? This is podcast 5 of Gabe's Nutritional Health Rambling Podcast. And yeah, let's see what I ramble on today. I never really have a topic. I just kind of look at things, think about random things I'll talk about. And yeah, I don't really script anything. I just talk. So let's see where my brain goes. Let's see. So there's Instagram and shit talk. I don't like TikTok. I think it kind of numbs the brain of people. Gives people that goldfish attention span. And I've seen it, man. I've seen it in the children, even older adults. And I don't really like posting there, but I'm trying to get the word out that I'm a nutritionist. I have a business, trying to find clients. So this is one way I'm trying to reach out to people because it's so damn popular. But I don't like it, but it's something necessary I need to do. Well, as I was thinking about what to talk about right now, I figured something important to talk about would be detox. Because detox is a buzzword. Detox is, it's interesting because everybody wants to feel better, feel cleansed, feel rejuvenated. You know, we often think toxins will hold us back, and they do for a large extent. And I think something people need to realize is a detox isn't a cute little weekend juice cleanse. It's not. You can't just drink a little bit of juice, which arguably the green juice crap people will drink will make them worse. Arguably, the little weekend of just drinking your green juice water might make you feel worse afterwards because humans were made to consume vitamins and minerals, right? Of course, the ones that help you. But the more and more I think about it, right, there's so much toxicity in the world. We're always detoxing. I mean, pollution in the air, uh, you know, bad stuff in our food if you haven't changed to a healthier diet. And over time, people will accumulate things in their body. So one of them is heavy metals, right? If you have, you know, silver teeth, right, or you have you know, a filling. If you got it back then, or went to Mexico, right, or something like that, depending what part of the world you're from, they at one point started putting quicksilver slash mercury fillings in the mouth of people, which is really fucking stupid. I don't know why people would do that. I don't know what was wrong with dentists or who makes these mercury fillings, because they've done studies. There's off gassing. People chew, they bite. They're trying to live, and there's off gassing of these mercury, and it goes into your blood, goes into your brain, goes into your body, and it stays there, goes into your fat cells, and it's just consistently leaching into your body. You know, and most people aren't aware of this. And some people have thyroid problems from getting this. Some people they get sick constantly. There's all sorts of random symptoms with mercury. You get the original term for mercury back in the old days when they would make hats. They used mercury in the factories, and that's what they called it, Mad Hatter symptom, because people would go mad. So if you're a person who got a filling, I would suggest going to a dentist, checking out if there's anything wrong with that. If there's mercury, you got to go to a special kind of dentist called a biological dentist, and not just any dentist can do this, right? They have to wear special equipment, special gear. I believe they have to have special devices because when they extract the mercury, they got to be careful and safe so they don't get sick, and so you don't get sick, right? So it's something very careful they need to do, right? Because they're extracting mercury from your mouth and they're removing it. So if you're one of these people, please go see a dentist, find a biological dentist. As far as I know, there's none near me. think the closest might be like San Antonio or Austin. If you're from around the world, I believe there's a society of people that are biological dentists, and they speak about what they do, helping correct the problems of the past. But going into detox, right? It's not a weekend little juice cleanse, right? You need the right vitamins and minerals to do this. You need zinc, you need molybdenum, you need selenium, and you need amino acids, right? Proteins. You make glutathione, and it's important, right? Because you have phase 1 detox to deliver in phase 2. So the way it works, right, is your body's actively trying to grab onto things that are toxins. Let's say heavy metals. Let's say you drink a Coke Zero or some shitty drink with aspartame. When you drink aspartame, right, it then creates formaldehyde, which is known as embalming fluid, right? Which I don't know why people would drink embalming fluid, but legally, you don't need to put embalming fluid on the can because it changes in your body. So legally, you could put poison, and if the poison turns into poison in your body, then that's legal, you know? Kind of crazy, right? So it's probably a good way to kill people over time, right? But getting to the point, when you're detoxing, the body is smart. It knows what it's doing. So it takes these toxins, whether it's plastic, forever chemicals, glyphosate, the body takes these things, and one of the first things it has to do is it's got to bind it to something. It binds it, takes it through the process, and it's more intricate. But basically, the body has to work really hard to get these toxins. It'll put it into a more toxic form first, sometimes, and then break that form down, and then bind it to something water soluble, right? So you could safely pee it out, poop it out, you excrete it. So it's not something you just do on the weekends. I'm thinking most people just aren't detoxing anymore, right? There's a lot of spices out there, different foods, different things, natural, that could actually effectively stop you from detoxing. So if you're not detoxing, you're slowing down your, alcohol dehydrogenase, aldehyde dehydrogenase, molybdenum's important for xanthine oxidase, sulfide oxidase. Then you need to have glutathione for the binding mechanism and whatnot, for the antioxidants, because believe it or not, oxidation is important in your body. The body's just like anything else, right? It has uses for things that are good and things that are bad. We often look at oxidation as a bad thing, but oxidation is not bad. In the context that oxidation isn't bad for you, is you need it in your detoxing. You need it in your phase 1, phase 2. That's when you break it down, and so on. So you can break it down, bind it, and then you excrete it. That's how the process works. There may be, to an extent, some, oxidative damage, but it's not the same as eating, a ton of sugar, not the same as drinking alcohol. Oh, alcohol, right? Another thing that completely slows down your detox. Maybe that's why when you overdrink, you feel like shit afterwards, right? Because your liver has to work so damn hard to help you from this toxin, right? Alcohol is it's a toxin. Your body needs to break it down, right? It goes through alcohol dehydrogenase, uses a lot of B vitamins. I think to an extent, right, B vitamins also help with detoxing because B1's depleted. So I'm not sure about the mechanisms there, but I do know B vitamins do need to be repleted. It's very taxing, right? It's kind of like a vacuum or a sponge, just sucks it right up. I think most people are very toxic, and we just don't know. We accumulate it in our childhood. Older people, right? They mess with mercury. They smoke. There's all sorts of crap in smoking. All sorts of chemicals that are good for you. I know the older people. They used to drive around in gasoline that had lead. So imagine that, right? Gasoline going into the air with lead. There's heavy metals and coal, right? Uh, I know in the States we don't really burn coal the way we should, right? I think in New York they got rid of coal. They banned it, because going green, right? That kind of dumb shit. And what's more ironic is they started importing this coal from Russia. And the problem is, you have coal that's refined, it goes through a process to be clean, which we do here. And then the Russian coal, they don't give a shit. They're gonna sell you coal that's full of toxins. And then you burn it in the factory to get energy, and then boom, it goes out in the air. You look at buildings in New York, you could tell that they're dirty. You power wash them and it's day and night. You look at big cities like India, you look at big cities in China, maybe like Pittsburgh, right? It's steelworking, Cleveland too, right? And I noticed some people have been suffering from health problems. I was speaking from someone who is from Ohio, and it's interesting how sick people are over there. Had no idea. People suffer from all sorts of health problems. They're depressed, teeth falling out. And I'm not saying everyone's like that, but I'm saying to an extent, right? It seems like people are very sick over there based on what this individual was telling me. And as soon as they left, they could breathe better again. It's kind of crazy, right? I can't imagine what it's like to grow up in the city, live in a city, right? A big city like that over there. Actually, being from New Delhi, right? Or hell, even New York, right? When all the fires are burning. So that's pretty crazy. You get to breathe in all those toxins in the air, and you get respiratory problems. She had asthma, really bad asthma. She moved down here to Texas, and it's significantly improved. So the air is pretty toxic, right? Burning coal, forest fires burning. Who knows what's burning over there, right? Houses. We breathe it in because we need to breathe, right? Humans can't not breathe. Oxygen is vital. And so doing so, the world becomes toxic. You might get some bad air. So the more I'm thinking about this, right? It's possible some people live in places that are just very toxic, and their health will vastly improve when they move away. So that's something to consider, right? I'm not a big government guy, but I understand that the EPA did good work, right, with regulating lead. That was very important. They have not, all these cars that still be emitting lead into the air when they're being burned off. But going back to detox, right? So older people suffer with these things, right? We think it's just our generation, but we also have this generation to worry about, which could be even more toxic in a weirder sense, right? Talk about plastics, the phthalates, the bisphenols, all these endocrine disruptors into our body. And to an extent, there's subcellular toxicity, which is an interesting thing to look at. But I don't believe detoxing is a state of the weekend. I believe that detoxing should be perpetual. It's something that should happen every day, right? And if your detox is shut down, you feel better. It's crazy, right? I think when people do like a real detox, actually turn it up, right? They'll get headaches, they feel bad, lethargic, kind of weak, different kind of problems, right? At first, it's hard, right? I don't know if it's just this burden of overloading happens on the body. I don't know if it's, you're running the liver too hard, kidneys involved, skin involved. But if your liver's too toxic, your kidney's too toxic, it'll then manifest out through the skin, right? Out through your tears. Back when I was first beginning, I'm gonna call it a perpetual detox. My tears would burn. Kind of crazy, right? I didn't really understand what was happening, but when I would, young and get the tears, or go a day or two without showering, just to see what my skin's like. Noticeably, it was clear, but oh man, it was kind of acidic in a sense, right? Just this burning sensation, right? I wasn't eating chile, wasn't eating capsaicin, wasn't eating anything spicy, nothing that could irritate me. It was just naturally you know, burning, spicy in a sense, right? So it makes me wonder if, nightshades could be detoxed, retinoic acid can be detoxed. If there are things in our body that could be detoxed that we don't even yet know that we can detox, but we are in fact detoxing, could be some heavy metals. I'm not quite sure what's happening, but after a while it got better, right? Now when I tear up a little bit, it's not as spicy as it used to be. My skin's much more clear. It's amazing. Uh, what led me down to this path, right, is listening to an interesting man. His name is Dr. Smith. He talked about this specific way of detoxing, which makes sense to me, right? Because as a NTP, right, we come more from a route of using herbs. The problem with herbs is it's a catch-22. The reason the catch-22, right, is because, like I talk about, when you're using herbs, right, remember, herbs is like taking a drug, but it's natural, right? So it must be okay, right? But no, it's like a tool like any other. There's side effects, as there are with anything. But using natural herbs can elicit a drug-like response, because that's what it does, right? I mean, if you take an herb, don't expect you to have you know, a positive benefit the whole time, right? It's manipulating something in your body to get a specific result. Some which may be positive, some which may be negative. We gotta understand that before we truly understand what detoxing is. So, there was a time where I was convinced, maybe I had a detox, right? Milk thistle, all those kind of things. Those herbs, those tinctures, you know, some certain products that help you detox. I tried them, and yeah, my acne came back. Came back really fucking hard. And for a bit, I was convinced it's a good thing. I'm supposed to have acne back, right? Wouldn't I? That would make sense, right? But then I got to thinking, right? You know, one, two, three, right? If the liver's fine, your kidney's fine. If your kidney's fine, your skin's fine. It's a certain cascade you got to think about. So if my skin was having breakouts, something's wrong with my kidney. Something's wrong with my kidney. There's something wrong with my liver. So I think I was pushing too hard, or in fact, I overburdened my liver and clogged it at the same time. Because these herbs can have that effect, right? Going back to the premise, right? Humans can shut down their detox. Humans can also empower their detox, right? Humans need vitamins and minerals. When you look at phase detoxification, right, of the conjugation, you got amino acids, you got glutathione, glucuronidation, sulfur. I believe the amino acids play a big one, but that's often overlooked, right? You know what? I got an idea for next one. I'll talk about protein and muscles, because that's important, right? I'll do that talk tomorrow. But getting back to the point, right? If you take all these herbs which provide a drug-like effect, it's a temporary solution or temporary relief, right? I remember thinking, this isn't it, right? To some extent, sometimes you will feel worse before you feel better, right? But I try and opt away from drugs, from plants, from these herbs, right? Because they're essential just natural medicine, right? So I stayed away from these plants, and I figured, all right, I'm gonna go as natural as I could possibly go, right? I'm gonna be just minerals and vitamins, right? Because that's basically when studying liver function. That's how it works, right? So that's what I did. Got zinc, got molybdenum, um, selenium. I stopped taking because it started making my joints hurt, right? Also, it gave me a dangerously high libido, very high sex drive, It's the kind of drive that you can't stop. You just start having these thoughts and you can't stop thinking about them. It's kind of crazy. So I stopped, right? Because I ate a lot of meat, right? Meat has good source of selenium. So I figured I should stop the supplementation of selenium, right? Because, yeah, I want to have a normal life. I don't want to turn into Quagmire from Family Guy, you know? Giggity. But, yeah, be mindful. If you're taking selenium, if it gets you, just really bricked up, you should stop taking it or reduce it, right? Don't take too much. If you take too much, it might make your joints hurt. That's one thing I learned. With that experience, what do we have, right? So the zinc for meat is pretty good. Also started doing some extra supplementation with zinc picolinate. The reason I like zinc picolinate is because it's arguably the most potent form of zinc that our body can absorb and utilize. So everyone's different. Some people need more, some people need less. Some people are sensitive, so they need to take like a dropper, like a milligram at a time. Some people are, a little better than others, and they could take 20 milligrams, 30 milligrams, 15 by Thorn, that's a good one. I wouldn't recommend taking 50 or anything above 30 because at that point you could detox way too hard, so hard. And one of the ways you could tell you're detoxing hard is if you get like these really bad headaches. It's like a migraine for like the day. Another way is, you're getting acne again. Another way is you're feeling tired, lethargic. Because I believe when you're detoxing, right, either you're peeing it out or you're pooping it out. So the factors that regard this is where it goes into, right? And the catalyst is not the poop, but the bile per se, right? Your gallbladder is where you put your toxins into, right? It goes into your gut, kind of lubes it up a little bit. Then hopefully you want to bind much of it to your poop to let go of it, right? Carnivores talk about not doing fiber. I think it's a little misguided, right? I think a carnivore can have the best detox ever on a carnivore diet. And I say this because you can effectively absorb much more bile from getting recirculated, right? So we need to talk about the world we live in. It's a very toxic world, and you got to mitigate the problems from a toxic world, right? I talk about how humans are, we're ancient creatures, we're animals, we're just trying to do our best, right? But the difference between now and maybe 200 years ago, before industrialization, is there's no toxicity in the world, right? There just wasn't any, right? There was no point of having toxins because we weren't industrialized. We weren't manufacturing crap and releasing them into rivers, burning them into the air, putting poison into, products. No plastics, no phthalates, none of that, right? So, when I think about carnivore, right, it's then vital to do fiber, right? Whether you do better with insoluble fiber or an insoluble psyllium husk kind of fiber. Some people like guar gum, what's it? Sin fiber, partially hydrolyzed guar gum, right? That's good for some people, right? I've tried it. Not my thing. I do amazing with psyllium husk. But it will become necessary to use fiber. Not because I don't think the body will need fiber, but for the purpose of binding your toxic bile. Because if you don't bind your toxic bile, you will recirculate that into your body, right? So you're getting toxic again. That thing your body works so hard to get rid of is now back into your body, right? So you want to prevent that, right? And this happens through something called enterohepatic recirculation. Yeah, enterohepatic recirculation, right? So what happens, right, is some of the bile left over after you poop gets reabsorbed from the portal vein, and you basically recycle it, right? Uh, it might have made sense back then when people were, these humans living day to day, they know we get a kill today, they know we get an animal today to eat. So it will make sense physiologically for the body to recirculate the bile, right? So you wouldn't need to produce much more. But in today's world, we could eat as much food as we need to, right? So to get rid of more fiber is beneficial. And I think if people do that, everyone's going to be better off. Fiber can help you in that way, right? I mean, there's all sorts of things people say about fiber. It helps you with, you know, not get hungry, helps you with your cholesterol, whatever, whatever, whatever. But just for the purpose of detoxing, I think it's better. I was looking at the effectiveness of fiber, right? Because fiber is two different things. Insoluble, which, like corn, right, just it passes through you, right? Then you have soluble, which is basically, it forms a gel-like substance in your body, and it gels up, and it, goes along through your GI tract. Some people do better with one over the other, so I recommend people to do that. Some people like to use zeolite, but I don't like zeolite because what I find is people will increase the aluminum in their body, and it may stay in their body. Some people do good with Silicor's biotoxin binder. I don't know what's in there, but through the power of physics, they figured out how to help you detox things better. Black charcoal is a really good one. Only problem with black charcoal, right, is if you take too much, you will plug yourself up if you're a person who's constipated. So if you're constipated, probably do very little of it, right? I think the average is like 1,000 milligrams, which is a gram. I think even 500 milligrams can, stock you up, right? If you poop regularly, 2, 3 times a day, then you can take black charcoal, you'll be fine, right? It'll help bind to these things to detox them by pooping them out. So yeah, it's basically how it works, right? You get your vitamins and minerals, you get your amino acids, you got the role of fatty acids to help with cholesterol to then help produce bile. Because if you don't produce enough bile, then you're not lubricating, your intestines, right? And if you do too much, people can, have these side effects, right? Of having the headaches because you're probably detoxing too much by producing a lot of bile, right? Uh, I know some people get morning sickness out of this. I'm not sure the mechanism, but it seems like if a person was on a low-fat diet and a high-carb diet, then they didn't really get to utilize much of their gallbladder to then go through the ducts to have bile salts. So I think possibly herbs can help with that, just for a little bit. That way people can effectively utilize their gallbladder. But it's not something I would recommend long term or even 2 months, maybe like a week, maybe a month, depending on the person, right? As they transition to a more keto carnivore diet, as I talk about, which may help them. But yeah, you have to experiment with your fiber, figure out what works best for you, right? Because we're all different, right? I think if you're a constipated kind of person, you might do better with, you know, insoluble fiber, right? It'll pass through you. I was reading a study that talked about fiber, examining different kinds of fiber, what it does on the body. And the reason insoluble fiber works better on your body is because the way the texture is made from like a psyllium husk will irritate your wall, right, of your intestines, and then it goes through more gut motility, more peristalsis. So the way peristalsis works is when you poop, right? It's these muscles that are slowly squeezing whatever is in your intestines, their large intestines, into your colon. Then you crap, right? You take a big dump. So it works by irritating you. Long term, I don't know if it's a bad thing, but I think as long as you do enough of it, you'll be fine, right? Now, for me, I only need like 2 grams of psyllium husk, and I personally do great. I do 5 or more, man, I'm constipated. You know, I don't care if I do 30 grams. People say do 30 grams or 25 grams of fiber a day, right? But that's crazy, right? You don't need it. Fiber is not a beneficial nutrient that's required to live, right? However, I will argue you will need to do fiber to help you detox better, right? Because our body works so hard to detox and get rid of toxins that it'll just recirculate, and that's kind of disappointing, right? So it's kind of like that Dave Chappelle meme, right? From his one skit. A modern problem requires a modern solution. I mean, I really wish going back to monkey would help, which it does for the most part, right? But you can't completely go back to monkey. You can't completely go back to the past because we got to figure out modern solutions to solve our modern problems. And that's where I believe fiber may play a very pivotal role. So experiment with that. See how that goes. Detoxing is important, right? Like I say, it's not something you do on the weekends. The juice cleanse. I don't know about that. I talk about plant defense chemical compounds in the past podcast, and you're drinking spinach and kale and all this bullshit full of oxalates, full of tannins, full of things that irritate your body, and I think it might slow down your detox. If you slow down your detox, they're not going to get much out, right? Because then the body has to, imagine your body's pissed, right? It's like, fuck, I got more shit to detox. And if you overburden it, then, it takes longer to detox whatever else is in you, right? So detox should be perpetual because we're perpetually living in a toxic world, in which we breathe things in and eat things which may be toxic. It's a sad truth, but that's the way it is, and we gotta learn to live with it as we try our best to mitigate and reduce such toxicity in the world, right? Like heavy metals. So talking about heavy metals, right? Going into detox. There's a study that talked about people with lymph node problems, and they found out that the ink on their skin from a tattoo got stuck in their lymph nodes, and it, you know, would enlarge, get inflame, and they would have these problems where they just couldn't detox as well. I think maybe someone got a lymph cancer or something. Lymph nodes are often not talked about because it's kind of weird. It's like the second circulatory system in a way. It's where your white blood cells go, your immune system goes. It sends things in. It gets toxins. It binds them. It finds them. It recirculates them, so your body can process them. I think some people might have a slow detox because they're not active. So exercise, work out, get your blood moving, gets your lymph nodes moving. Your lymph node doesn't have a heart. The same way your heart can pump blood. So in order to move, right, your lymph nodes, you gotta exercise, you gotta move, you gotta walk. So if you're a sedentary person all day, then it's just kind of stagnant and doesn't move around that much. So a little trampoline can help with that or something. Going for a walk, walking is always good. There's nothing ever wrong with walking. Doing some exercise, that'll help you move it right. But back to my point, right? Tattoos can be very toxic because they have ink, and the ink has to be something very potent, very strong. It has to stay in the dermis of your skin, right? That's why tattoos exist, right? Because it's stuck there. Your body will absorb everything, right, through the skin. Knowing that, also you gotta know that the colors used in tattoos, right, need certain metals to give it that color, right? So look it up and do your own research, right? So you can see what heavy metals are in there. For sure, there's mercury, which isn't good, but you'll come to find out there's a lot of metals that the human body doesn't need in these tattoos. Now maybe, right? People are going crazy because they have tattoos, right? It makes more sense. Look at I don't like to be a person who's facetious, who's mean, who's discriminatory, etc., right? But look at people in jail. Look at their tattoos. They have a shit ton of fucking tattoos. I don't think that's healthy. I think people with tattoos are irrational. They can't think well. They're plagued. They're poisoned. They have toxins. I don't think their brain is fully functional in a coherent manner in which, don't commit a crime, right? I don't like making excuses, right? If you commit a crime, you need to suffer the consequences. But they're not all there, right? They may not be crazy, like a person who's loony, right? But they are crazy in that their thoughts are irrational, which makes them commit crime. And what did I say earlier about, you know, the factories back then that made hats that had mercury in them? They called it Mad Hatter disease, right? So you got to think, right? How toxic are people with tattoos? They're probably not detoxing very well. They're probably full of mercury and other respective heavy metals in their body, and they're going through the motions, and maybe to an extent there's some sort of brain inflammation going on. So I think, right, with these people in the prison populations, more tattoos, the more mad they get, right? They're mad hatters. They're crazy. Just something I thought about right now. It makes a lot of sense. I believe there was a study looking at heavy metal in the prison population and how that may affect their behavior. So that's an interesting thing to correlate, put together. Causation, correlation, whatever, right? But there's something to it. It'd be interesting if people in prison, right, maybe got a proper detox from heavy metals, right? Now, there's something called chelation therapy, right? And I don't like it. It's good in theory, right? But what it does is it gets rid of all your minerals. And that's not good, right? Because then you're going to become malnutried. You get to a point of malnutrition, right? So it works by getting rid of all your metals, the good and the bad. But I'm a big proponent of, gradual replacement of heavy metals through, minerals that our body needs, right? Like zinc, like selenium. Often, we have antagonists in the body, and zinc can help with that to get rid of them. Selenium can help get rid of them. Some of these minerals lived in them can help get rid of them, right? We're just slowly replacing the bad with the good we needed, right? Because the body has receptors, and we take things in, and it then fulfills a function and enzymatic reactions and coenzymes. But that's replaced full of heavy metals that don't fulfill a good function. Then it's better to do this through slow repletion of your minerals. Over time, you'll get rid of them. But it's also contingent, right? On your bile, on your pooping, on your fiber. Pooping is a good thing. We need to poop more, right? At least 2, 3 times a day. One a day if you're good, if you're a constipated person. Hey, progress is progress. We do what we can. But we gotta realize we live in a toxic world. So if you have heavy metals from tattoos, don't get tattoos. It's weird. People like tattoos, but they won't get them, right? There's just something about tattoos, right, that are unappealing. Even like the most prettiest, amazing tattoos, there's just something off about them. It seems unnatural. I've seen the Japanese art, the Yakuza art, with the tattoos and they etch them to your skin. Now that's beautiful. That's art. That's cool. But again, I don't know what they're putting in there, right? What's in the ink? Because you will absorb on your skin this ink, just like bathing in dirty water. Get a filter for your shower head, right? Because you bathe in it, it becomes a part of you, and you absorb it. And the reason why I don't tell people to supplement with extra copper is because most people have copper pipes, and with copper pipes, you will get copper in your body, right? So you might need help to offset that with zinc. Now, like I say, this isn't medical advice. I'm not a doctor of any sort. It's not nutritional advice because you're not my client. So if you're not my client, then I can't give you nutritional advice. So this is not advice, unless you want to be my client. So yeah, hit me up, send a DM to my Instagram, text me, book an appointment. That'd be pretty fucking awesome. I would love to help you. I run a NAQ, nutritional assessment questionnaire, a lot of questions, issue interview questions. I run another thing, which is a food and mood journal, and I can help find things that could be problematic from your past, or things problematic currently. So let me help you, right? This is an ad for me and only me. So yeah, book an appointment. I would love to help you. But getting back to the topic, when we look at detoxing, right? We look at N-acetylcysteine, and it's helped a lot of people. So you look at N-acetylcysteine, and I'm like, why are they helping people, right? Well, it's something you need to detox. Do you need it? No, you don't need it. It's a cysteine, right? We get some cysteine from eating meat. Eat some fucking meat. Selenium helps. Eat some fucking meat. Molybdenum. And molybdenum is a interesting one because I think black beans were the only source, and some beans, of molybdenum. And I've been puzzled because molybdenum is just such a important part of detox. I'm trying to understand where in the human diet in the past did we ever get molybdenum? Because it helps you with sulfur. People say, oh, eat sulfur, it's going to help you detox. No, it doesn't. It can't. It makes it worse. You need to detox sulfur, right? Like people that drink wine, right? They have a bad liver on top of having sulfite. So you need to get molybdenum to help you with sulfite. You have this oxidation that occurs, right? You have this andine oxidation, sulfur oxidation, and then it helps you with that. You eat a lot of alliums like garlics and leeks. A lot of things have sulfur in them. You don't need more of them. Broccoli has a shit ton of sulfur. They're trying to argue they need sulforaphane, which is complete bullshit and garbage. It's revving up your immune system because it wants to get rid of it. Remember that. If something aggravates your immune system, it's probably trying to get rid of it. So, you need molybdenum. But I can't think. We're in human nature to be every molybdenum. Maybe we never needed molybdenum. Maybe people were just not toxic back then, right? We didn't have these problems with heavy metals. Now we eat fish, right? And fish are toxic. They got heavy metals, right? Now you gotta eat the smallest fish because they have the least amount of heavy metals, right? People eat, shark, right? Big things. There are no big things, right? I'm not a fisherman, but there's a list of seafood out there that you can't eat, right? Or you shouldn't eat, right? Because these are big animals, right? Swordfish, that's one of them. I don't know about sushi, but people do get mercury poisoning from sushi. So if you eat a lot of seafood, beware, just because the ocean is just so toxic now. They're finding plastic, like in the deep bottom of the ocean, right? Like the Marianas Trench, that's like the deepest part, I believe. They found that the fish there have plastic in them, in their cells. Crazy. Plastic's everywhere. Who knows what the long-term effects are of plastic besides, the feminization of men, the giving women a problem with estrogen dominance. We need to really be critical of things being put out there, right? Bisphenol A, right? Yay, we banned it, or whatever, right? And there's fucking BPA to Z, right? BPZ, BPP, whatever the fuck, there's a ton of them, right? It's still plastic and phthalates, which are endocrine disruptors, right? You could change it up a little bit, do whatever you want with it, but at the end of the day, it's still toxic, it's still foreign to us. We We don't need these things, right? I tell people, if you want to drink water, do it out of a glass bottle. I try my best to drink out of a glass bottle, right? Same thing with aluminum, right? Aluminum affects detox. When it affects detox, you don't feel good, right? Makes me think of aluminum deodorants, right? How it helps you not sweat. Well, it helps you not sweat, then you're not detoxing. That's as simple as it is, right? Because how are you supposed to detox if, you're stopping it? People get aluminum in their armpits. In your armpits, you have a lymph node that goes through there. And for a lot of people, they can't sweat. They just can't sweat. And then when they do, it smells like garbage. It smells horrible. It smells like the worst thing ever, right? Then what they do, they cover it up, right? You don't need aluminum deodorant. You don't need deodorant at all, right? You could get something else that may help, right? Beware of baking soda products because it could mess with the pH value of your armpits. Your armpits have a slightly acidic pH value, so if you put baking soda, it's gonna really irritate it, get itchy, and it fucking sucks, right? So I tell people, don't put anything on it. Shower every day if you must. It took me maybe a good 3 months to get rid of this smell, right? And I haven't used deodorant in 5 years, and I'm still detoxing. But my smell of my armpits isn't horrific. It's not gonna, scare or kill people. So do this for yourself, right? Be kind to yourself. Stop putting a metal into your body you don't need, right? Again, recent study, right? Why people use parchment paper because when you cook with aluminum foil, it leaches into your food and you're eating aluminum foil. And then you gotta detox that too. So beware, right? Beware. We figured out a lot of things to poison ourselves with that we haven't really figured out. We've now figured out, and I'm telling you what to avoid, right? Don't cook in aluminum foil. Don't put aluminum deodorant in your armpits. Don't put toxic tattoos on your skin. Stop. Don't do this. Get some help. Detox is very important to me because if you don't detox, you never get better. You just get sicker and sicker, and maybe you get cancer, maybe you get a tumor, maybe you get, I don't know, autoimmunity, maybe you get some of the stuff, I don't know. But it makes sense to me that people are, and I'm gonna say it every day, again, don't fucking drink alcohol. Alcohol isn't good for you. Alcohol is a poison. That's why it's called an intoxicant, because it's making you toxic. How do you fight your liver? You store this alcohol esters in your liver. It gets fatty. If you were to just process alcohol normally, you would die. Like straight up, you would just fucking die right there. But the body's smart, right? The body would rather get poisoned slowly over time in the hopes of fixing itself than just dying right then and there, right? So they figured out you get fatty liver from drinking a lot of alcohol because it stores them as esters in your liver to be detoxed later on through lipolysis to get rid of that fat, right? So if you're drinking all the time, stop. Get some fucking help. Go to AA meetings. Do something. Change your addiction. Because we all know, and if you're a drinker, and if you know someone that's drinking, they need to stop. Because they'll get sicker. And it's shutting down their immune system. It's using up all their B vitamins. So, what good is drinking if it's making you worse? If you need alcohol to have fun, right, then you just kind of suck to begin with. If you can't have fun with alcohol, then you're kind of pathetic. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If you can't be fun without drinking alcohol, you're lame. You don't need to drink. If you can't get loose, do it mentally. Just be yourself. You don't need to act like you have a tight button. Be yourself, okay? If you feel like you gotta drink to be yourself, don't do it. Drinking never helps. It loosens your inhibition, right? When you know you shouldn't do something, but you have these thoughts about it, well, alcohol turns that off, right? And you might do stupid shit like driving drunk. You might get into a fight, right? If you're a strong-willed person, right? But have enough resolve to not go forward with your actions, well, alcohol turns off your inhibitions. It makes your brain smaller, kills your brain cells. I mean, what more do I gotta say about alcohol being shitty? Uh, for context of why we ever drank alcohol to begin with, is because back then we had no water purification systems. We didn't know how to clean water, right? Water would get, bacteria, people would die, get sick, shit themselves, diphtheria, all that kind of stuff. So we had alcohol, right? Alcohol kills bacteria. So we've been, drinking alcohol for centuries, of course, millennia. So people wouldn't get sick in that way, right? At the expense of our liver. But then again, we didn't really have much of a toxic role back then. So it was able to slide a little bit. But then think about history, right? It's kind of funny, right? I like history, get a minor history. People were drunk all the time back then. You know? Every war might have been started because someone was drunk, right? Every bad historical decision was made because someone drank a lot. I mean, it's funny when you think about it. But yeah, I think people back then were fucking sticking drunk all the time. So, like I said, don't drink. It has no benefits for you. None at all. Zero. So this podcast is about detoxing your liver, right? If you want detox, get serious about it. Because let me tell you, you can't half-ass your detox. You can't. You either do it or you don't do it. That's the way it works, right? Because your body will store all these toxins in your fat. It'll store them in your tissue. It'll store them in places so the one day you're able to be healthy. At the time, rest, be calm. Get the minerals you need to detox. Get the protein you need to detox. You eat enough fat, but not too much fat, right? Doing too much fat may overdo it for you. Your body can then detox. And when you detox, you'll feel better. You might stink a little bit at first. You might feel a little tired at first. You might feel a little bit down at first, but once you do it enough, you figure out what's the right zinc for you, what's the right selenium for you, what's the right amount of fat for you to eat, then you can realize, all right, you can detox efficiently and better, and feel better, feel amazing. Get back your energy, get back your mental capacity, lose the brain fog. You don't want to live to a ripe old age just for this to, I don't know, maybe perchance it may give you cancer, might give you a tumor, might give you something, right? Might give you a problem. And at that point, it might be too late. Because we spent years getting detoxed, and now you don't have the problem. But if you spent years being toxic and getting toxins into your body, then one day what's that saying about the debt ceiling? If your house is full of shit and you raise the ceiling, you're still shit in your house. It's kind of like that, right? So instead of raising the ceiling on your shit house, you can't raise the ceiling anymore. Then it overflows. So open a door, detox, get all that crap out of there, and you will feel better. And you will be thankful. They can now live a better quality of life because you detoxed. No, it's not a weekend thing, like I said, right? But it's gonna take you maybe a good while. Might take you years, depending on how toxic you've been, right? Might take you 1 year, 5 year, 10 years. It depends on you, really, right? But as you slowly get better and healthy, then you're in for a better time. You're gonna be good. You're gonna feel great. So, alright, I guess I made my point. that's all I'll talk about for right now, right? I got nothing else to say. But I've noticed I always talk about aliens in the end, right? So, apparently, I think it's Peru, right? South America. There were sightings of an alien a few days ago. And then there's a story ran by the government saying something about there being like the guy in a jetpack, but then the local people there said, no, they actually saw some, 9-foot aliens or something like that. Really crazy, you know? That, we're having all this, I'm going to call it the UFO revolution. Because, yes, Stephen Greer's disclosure event with these witnesses who saw things. Then you had the UFO Congress, July 26th hearing with Grush, Fravor, and Graves. Then there's all sorts of talk about aliens from the Pentagon and black budget and need to know and special access programs and, things so hidden that the Joint Chiefs don't even know about. So it's kind of fucked up, right? If you're running programs in your government and the Joint Chiefs do not know about it, if some people at CIA don't know about it, like the head of CIA, right? If DNI, Director of National Intelligence, like the big spook, right, doesn't know about it, then who's really running the show, right? You gotta ask yourself, right? Of course, when we're running into programs, you gotta have plausible deniability, but they each express that they truly, genuinely do not know. And I'm sure they want to know. But, the power goes to the military industrial contractors, and that's gonna be a hard one to break, right? So it'd be fun to see if Dr. Stephen Greer goes on with this RICO lawsuit against this corrupt shadow government of military industrial complex people with whistleblower. What's it like? Whistle? No, I can't even say that word. The whistle blowing protector, right? And one of the amendments they did for a defense bill. So it's gonna be interesting to watch the next few months, the next few years. Like Werner von Braun said, right? After Al Qaeda, after terrorism, after rogue states, they're gonna play the alien card, and I'm not sure how that's gonna look. It's gonna be crazy. So I guess we'll see, right? I mean, of course, the U.S. military has its own UFO program, right? Each branch, reverse engineering, trying to figure out how these things work. Uh, I mean, at this point, people have seen so many things in the sky. I mean, it's not crazy anymore. There's good footage out there, and it's hard to find good footage. And everyone's gonna do their fucking shitty, pathetic ass debunking. Oh, it's probably Photoshop. Can you prove it's Photoshop? It's oral past history traditions from Native American. They said star people. They've come down here, and they've helped them. You're gonna be some douchebag and just say, it's a tall tale of it's some mythology, or because they don't believe it's mythology. They don't believe it's some bullshit their ancestors said. They truly, genuinely, as part of their history, believe that. Just as we knew George Washington was their first president, they knew people came down from the stars to help them. So don't be an asshole. Don't put people down because of their beliefs. But who knows, right? Aliens in Peru. Maybe Grush will talk in Congress again. We'll see. Supposed to be more hearings. And there's all this Trump indictment stuff, but I mean, it's all a bunch of BS. Whenever there's big news like that happening in the background, there's something else hidden even deeper in the background. So let's pay attention. Let's see, right? We don't know what's going to happen, but we live in exciting times. So detox to be healthy for these exciting times, and hopefully good things come to fruition. Thank you for listening to my podcast, and hope you have a lovely day and be amazing. Bye bye now.